Hi, this is Nora. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about how you can live a happier life. We are all searching for happiness in life, and where and how we find it can vary hugely based on our personality and our interests and a multitude of other things. However, there are a few general principles and tips that I think will help you live a happier life. One of those things is to stop interpreting meaning into things. I was reading a book by Nathaniel Branden called The 6 Pillars of Self-Esteem, and he was talking about the art of living consciously, and he was talking about the importance of separating between facts, interpretation, and emotion. Of course, he was talking about this in relation to self-esteem, but I think it's very applicable to happiness as well, because we will often make ourselves unhappy by interpreting meaning into something that someone says or does or a situation, and the fact might be completely different from how we're interpreting it. For example, you might see someone frowning when they're speaking to you, and you can interpret this to mean that they are upset with you or angry with you, and that can make you upset or sad, when the actual fact can be very different. They could be frowning for another reason. They could be remembering something that happened earlier, or they might not even be frowning at all. It might just be a random facial expression. Or someone might say something to us and we'll start making interpretations about the phrasing that they used and just make a big deal and make ourselves unhappy for no reason at all. So try and be conscious of the fact that the truth might be very different from how you are interpreting it, and try to avoid interpreting too much meaning into things. Another very important aspect of living a happier life is to stop comparing yourself to others. Theodore Roosevelt said that comparison is the thief of joy, and the man has got a point. Comparing yourself to others is a sure way to invite unhappiness and discontent into your life. Because depending on who you choose to compare yourself to, you are always going to come up short. And let's be real, we never choose to compare ourselves to people who we feel are less accomplished than us. No, you compare yourself to Scarlett Johansson and then you feel terrible about yourself. There are two obvious problems that I can see, and one of them is that you're only seeing the image that someone is choosing to portray. You don't know that this person is happier than you. Some of the people who seem like they have everything they could wish for are desperately unhappy. You don't know that you would be happy if only you had this thing. Because also, too, there is always going to be someone who has more. Even if you had this thing that you wish for, you are going to find something else that you are lacking and that you want. That is just human nature. So the best thing to do is just stop the comparing game altogether. Stop comparing yourself to others. It's a difficult thing to do, and it's something I'm still working on. Another thing I'm working on is to acknowledge the responsibility of my life. Life is not just a series of events that happen to you. You have control over your actions and how you approach each day and how you approach the situations that you are faced with. This is a scary thing for most people to acknowledge, because if I'm responsible for my own life and my own happiness, then is it my own fault that I am unhappy or that my life isn't going the way I want it to? That's not exactly what I'm saying. There can be a multitude of reasons for unhappiness, not least of all actual depression, which, if you're suffering from it, needs a different type of help. But I do think that it's important to acknowledge responsibility for your life and the direction that it's going, rather than play the blame game and put the responsibility on anyone and anything but yourself. Because what makes many of us anxious is the feeling of not being in control. The feeling of uncertainty, like you don't know what's coming or where you're going. And honestly, we don't know what's coming. Nobody does. But you just have to trust and believe and accept that whatever does come, you can handle it, and you are responsible for the way that you deal with it and whether or not you allow it to derail your goals. And whatever does come our way, we need to stop catastrophizing things. There's a quote by John Lennon that stuck with me, and I try to remind myself of it every time I start going into a spiral of doom where it seems like everything is just going to be the end of the world. The quote is, "Everything will be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end." The habit of getting stuck in a spiral of negative thoughts is something that I think a lot of us can relate to, where one thing goes wrong and it just disrupts our whole day or even our whole week, and we just get so upset that everything didn't work out exactly as we planned. And as we get more worked up about this and we get stuck in these negative thoughts, often more negative things will happen. I can definitely be prone to this, but I'm trying to get better at checking myself and reminding myself that it's okay. It's gonna be okay in the end, and even if it's not, It's not the end. I don't necessarily believe in fate, but I do find some comfort in the thought that things will work out the way they're supposed to in the end. On a point that's somewhat related to this, I do believe that to live a happier life, you need to quiet your negative inner voice. The one that tells you, God, I cannot believe you just did that. Are you dumb? If this is something that you're prone to, then the first step is to be conscious of it. If you start noticing these thoughts going around in your head, then try to be aware of it and consciously put a stop to it. Another thing that I think is truly important to live a happier life is to stop trying to chase someone else's dream. This one kind of speaks for itself, so I'm not going to linger on it too long, but we all have people in our lives that we want to please, that we want to make proud of us. But at the end of the day, it's your life and you're the one who has to live it. It is not worth making yourself unhappy, chasing someone else's dream or vision for you. A difficult but important part of living a happier life and of prioritizing your happiness is to let go of unhealthy relationships. Now, I'm lucky enough to have people in my life who are wonderful and supportive, but I know that for everyone this is not the case. Sometimes there's a person in your life, whether that is a partner or a friend, who just drains you of energy and brings negativity into your life. Any relationship is a give and take. It requires both people to make an effort and be available for the other, whether that is through listening, through giving advice, through providing emotional support, or just a place to vent. And I'm not saying that this is always going to be a perfect 50-50 split. There are going to be times where one person requires more than the other because of whatever's going on right then. I'm certainly not saying that you should be ditching your partner or your friend just because they're going through a rough time. But if you feel consistently over time that you're putting in more effort and being asked to give more emotionally than you're able, and if you feel like the relationship is full of negativity and is weighing you down, then it is okay to say no to that and to distance yourself from it. Those were a few ways of living a happier life. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to my channel and I will see you in the next one. Bye!